I suggest that we continue with the German marketing strategy briefly, just to conclude this topic, where we had been too slow in the presentation earlier on. That then Sim continues, Beata, and in the last not least, in the end, Frank comes again with a presentation about gender marketing, we could call it, how to attract male for equestrian sport, because in many countries we have the situation that there are nowadays 70, 80, 90% of the riders are ladies and girls. In fact, there are some countries where it's the other way around, but they are not really from this part of Europe, I guess, but from other parts of the world. Definitely, it's a topic, and we can talk about that as well. If you have any questions or comments during the presentations or during the discussion, please speak up, do not hesitate. But as Steven Spielberg told us, we have to use the microphone, please. So we, in our federation, of course, we have worked with sponsors for many years, just like Frank described earlier on. But we also felt we have to get this more structured, and we have to get a better system and make use of our resources and sponsorship possibilities much, much better than we did in the past. So we took up a strategic project 2 years ago, together with an external agency who came in as consultant, who looked at us and really gave us a lot of advice, told us where we are good, where we are bad, and this is very briefly the outcome of it. The philosophy, why do we cooperate at all, and what can we improve in this cooperation also for those partners. We wanted to create a solid structure for our partners on the basis of getting more and more commercialization of the sport. And our marketing department and attempts should get more professional, and we wanted to add more value for our partners, because if you want to get more income from them, you need to offer more. They need to have more value, otherwise they simply don't give you more money. Why should you? Why should they? So in the end, it comes to such a circle. You have to start on the top there where it says offering packages. We need to establish, to find packages, offers that you can market, where you can interest potential partners with, and it needs to be packages where they and you benefit from. That's also what Frank described. They went through this and said, what do we have on offer, and how can we put it together to a package? Then, once you have these packages, you have your offer, you need to ask yourself, how can I attract those potential sponsors? What strategy do we need to win them, to make them identify themselves with us, to get a network together, to attract them to events first, so they get interested in the sport, and then you get them hopefully going, you get to a contract with them, and then it comes to the part on the bottom. You have to keep them, make them loyal customers, like every supermarket or whatever tries to make all of us loyal customers. We want to keep these sponsors happy and want to have them for 30 years, like the casino, and keep them in our sport and not make them move to racing or sailing or somewhere else.
What do you mean by networking?
Networking means also to put those, to get us in contact with the sponsors, with the potential sponsors, but also to get them together, and to get them together with, between the sponsors and between the sponsors and possible customers for them, because they want to sell. And they want to sell to people who are in the equestrian market. So if there's Fendt, a tractor company, as our sponsor, they want to sell to people who run equestrian centers because they know they need a tractor. We need to get them in contact as part of our sponsorship package.
We invite, for example, our sponsors to our national award ceremony, where sponsors have their own table, they meet each other, and also have the possibility to meet the athletes they support. That would be one example for that.
Yeah. When selling something to partners, you need to ask yourself, what is their advantage? And for us, it's that they need to have an advantage, to have a very good presentation through us, through the partnership with us, be it on a national level, be it on a regional level, depending on the level they are working on the amount of money they want to spend. Of course, usually, being sponsor of a national federation, they want to have coverage on a national level. And, of course, we need to create a positive image and transfer this image through them being engaged in our sports, in this sportive and dynamic environment of equestrian sports. That's for sure why it's so difficult to have a positive image transfer in a sport that has some manipulation and doping cases, as we had since the last Olympic Games. Sponsors do not want to be linked with teams that have had a doping case in Hong Kong. So we were definitely struggling throughout the last few years. We didn't have a doping manipulation case. Whatever. It was not doping, it was just medication, but that doesn't make a difference for a sponsor. They say, it's doping, you are bad, I don't want to spend money with you, I don't want to be related to you. So in the position we especially were since Hong Kong, we had to do a lot of work to build up trust again. And I know for sure that you as owners of equestrian centers or clubs have exactly the same position, because you approach a sponsor, those sponsors say, isn't this the sport that has doping cases all the time? So it's one problem for all of us. That's why clean sport is such an important topic. Another advantage for a partner has to be that the brand awareness needs to be increased through his presence or through his work with us. He, the sponsoring partner, wants to see his logo or whatever as much as possible in public to get known by the people. And another part is not only the broader public, but also hospitality programs, customer loyalty, business contacts. This is networking that we had earlier on. For certain types of companies, this is much more important, to have a VIP table at the annual championship dinner or at a big show where they can go with important customers. This is much more important for some companies than being seen by 100,000 people on TV, because they have a different company that doesn't care about so many contacts. Now, very briefly, what we did with this strategy renewal. In the past, we just sold different projects or programs to partners. We had partners who gave us tech and clothing for the championship teams, or we had a certain project. We just tried to identify a sponsor and said, look, do you want to buy this and support us with this? And then we had another project and approached the next one. So it was a whole mess of different projects and no structure behind that. And we had to really be careful. Do we have a bank partner already? So can we sell something to another bank or not? It's very difficult when you have so many things operational. So what we did, we created this structure here on different levels with, of course, different categories. Starting with a pool partner, that is partners who have to invest as a pool partner 7,000 euro per year, and they get certain values back for that. They have a logo presence in our monthly magazine, and maybe that's it. The next step then is the premium pool partner, who has to pay more, but he also gets more back from that. So he doesn't only have logo presence in the magazine, but also on the website and maybe something else. And then we are getting to the next level where we have the co-sponsors. Again, they get more value for money, and then leading up to main sponsors. And there's a fifth category, which is the general sponsor. We would be aiming at having one general sponsor. We have not yet identified that one. We are hoping to get Fendt or the insurance company R&V, or maybe the bank DKB, to lift them to a general sponsorship during the next few years. But this is the new categorization we have now. When we approach them, we don't approach them with just one project. We tell them, you can support this area, and with the amount of money you spend with us and with the amount of activities we are doing together, then you will be in the co-sponsor level. And then they see exactly who else is in that level, what do I get for the money, and then they can consider, is it worth it for me? And what we experience already now, as this has been in place very shortly only, we have some premium pool partners who say, okay, I just have to spend this more money to get to the co-sponsor level. Maybe I do that to be higher up in the rankings, so to say, and to be an even better partner of the federation. In the beginning, we feared it might be the other way around, that they say, oh, but why are they co-sponsor and me not, and this is not fair. It works. It works very well, and we are happy with this system that we have now. Included, this just as an example, for the co-sponsors, included in the rights they get is then that they can use our logo. This means official partner of the German Equestrian Federation, co-sponsor, they can use this. They can use this title, and they can use it wherever they want, and they have a branch exclusivity on the co-sponsor level. So if there is Equistro, we will not have another company that is offering similar products. There is a difference, as you see, with Piqueur and Cavallo and HKM, because they are all tech producers, but that is because they provide the equipment for our championship teams. And Piqueur is doing jumping and driving, and they have exclusivity in these two disciplines. And Cavallo is responsible for eventing and dressage and are exclusive there, and so on and so on. We intend to have long-term partnerships, as we had with many of our partners, like Piqueur. That's something that's been going on since the 1970s, I guess. And of course, this is very positive for us. But now we put it in contracts, and we took the risk to say we will not enter one-year contracts only. It is a necessity for us to have a minimum of a 2 years contract, and if a sponsor says, I don't want that, then we don't take him. We might lose someone, but we feel this is quite relevant for us, because very often the sponsor does not get back enough in the first year, because that's the year where you build up all those contacts and start with the activities and projects. And this only pays off in the second year. So if we had a 1-year contract, after 10 months, they would evaluate it and say, it's not worth it, we quit. Having a 2 years contract, they evaluate after 1.5 years. And that's when things start to work and pay off. And then they say, good, we enter another 2-year contract with you. This is the reason behind this minimum duration, which is a risk in the first place, but we are sure that it, and convinced that it does help us. Besides just providing the presence and the activities to the partners, we need to have this close contact and this cooperation. That's why we implemented certain measures working with them. So since last year, we have an annual feedback discussion with the sponsor. We invite them, just the sponsor, Equistro or Fendt, or we go there, of course, because we want something from them. And then we have a talk and ask them, are you happy? What can we do differently? How can we get better to have this communication up and going and to have them talk to us? If we didn't do that, they would be unhappy and mumble in their office and say, oh, we are not happy, but they might not tell us, and then we can't repair what's going wrong. We offer them certain exclusive events, which is meant with sponsoring events. For example, next week I think we invite all our main sponsors to an event in a hotel-like environment where we have two people, high-level people giving a speech, and there we get Fendt and Piqueur and all these people in contact to each other, and we have this networking and identification process building up and make them happy. It's more like an incentive, but it's really worth it and helpful. And of course, the last point there, documentation is important. You can always tell them we are very successful and it works and you have so much coverage. You need to show it to them. You need to have documentation and provide photos and articles and all this sort of stuff so they see, yes, we are involved, we are visible. Finally, we divide our offers for those sponsors in different areas. And that's high-performance sports, of course, people like Piqueur and so on who support the teams for the championship. It's supporting the young talents. That's a little bit like the Dutch talent plan. Not that we have the same system in place, but those companies have the chance to get identified with the upcoming riders. And for some of them it's interesting, like it's interesting for Rabobank in the Netherlands. We have another area that's the national or regional competitive sport and the leisure sports area. We have training and science, which is an area where we are doing a lot, and there can be companies or interested partners for that. And finally, horse keeping and horse breeding, which is interesting for those partners who want to get in contact with our 7,700 riding clubs or 4,000 commercial equestrian centers who are a member of our federation. And there's, of course, a very good contact chain between them and a potential sponsor then. Just two projects really specifically shown. One that is from the leisure sports, you know, it's America's Next Top Model, Germany's Next Top Model. I don't know if this exists here as well. We wanted to have Germany's Next Top Horse. We couldn't name it accordingly because of commercial rights, so we named it Top Horse of the Year. Everyone who wanted to could send in a photo and a description of his horse and say, this is why my horse is the best in Germany. And it's not about being an Olympic champion. We had ponies of 50 centimeters being sent in. But that's the best because it's so friendly, so whatever. It was, I admit, we found this example in the Netherlands as well, and we took it on in our country. It was a huge success. We had 2,000 horses being entered into the competition. We had I think more than 500,000 web contacts, people taking part in this election process. That's why it was very interesting for sponsors on the web page in all this process over half a year, starting from April last year. And then there was the final at the Big Horse Show in Hanover with an election, with horses really showing up in the ring, with the sponsors being present, an award ceremony, and a lot of press coverage. So that was one very successful example that we just started last year as a sort of an experiment. And coming to the traditional area of high performance sports, we've always had garment companies providing clothing and tech for us. Since World Equestrian Games 2010, we have had Fendt as a main sponsor, and you see that the Fendt logo is present there. That's for the whole team, gives us really significant financial revenue at a level where we've never been before. And luckily it proved to be successful, and we had a renewal until WEG 2014 now. Very good for us. Which shows sometimes you just have to try it. We spoke about your Uvex example. Uvex is also sponsoring our team. We always had some helmets given by another company for 10 or 15 years, but that was just for free. They said, you get 5 helmets and then you'll be happy. We accepted this. And then some years ago we asked ourselves, is this right? And we said, no, we give it a try. We do Ausschreibung? Yeah. We do a process where we give the possibility for everyone, a bidding process. We give the possibility for each company to apply. And you, company, tell us what you are willing to give us for this. You have to provide 500 helmets per year, and what do you want to give us on top? We were very scared when we started this because we thought we might lose the old partner, but in the end, they all applied and offered something on top, which also brought us to a very absolutely new area in this, on this field here. So you see, sometimes you just have to risk it, give it a try, and it can be very successful if you take everything in consideration that is around it, and if you really can deliver something against. The times where we said, you have to find a sponsor, he just pays 5,000 euro and gets nothing, those times are gone long ago. And that's also something I said earlier on, manage expectations. We have a lot of people in our federation who still say, just find a sponsor for 5,000 euro, can't be that difficult. They have to change their mindset and accept that it's not working like that anymore. A sponsor needs something back, and that's why it's so important to set up such a strategy and undertake all this, these efforts to establish the program. And just one more sentence, you also have to accept then that you have to invest. You get 5,000 euro, but you have to reinvest maybe 2 to keep the sponsor happy. You need to employ staff to do this. You need to work in advance like you did before you got European Union funding. Again, that's something many people don't want to accept in the first place. They say, why don't we waste all this money for our marketing staff? Because without the staff, you wouldn't get the money to fund sports projects. Okay, full stop. I'm getting too long. Thank you very much. Any questions on this? No.
I have one question. Our equestrian sport is quite traditional. White trousers, dark boots, and now we start marketing, and more logos, all those stuff will become. What do you think? On what direction we will finish? Like Formula 1 or?
That's in the Jumping Riders Club and other clubs that has been a discussion for quite a while already. And it's the same on the national and even regional level. And we have national rules that are exactly the same as FEI rules. You can just have a logo of, 80 square centimeters. Now it's 80 square centimeters on each side. That shows we are moving, and we are not that traditional anymore. We accepted that a sponsor needs to get value for money. But I recall that also the riders have always said, we do not want to end up like Formula 1, like a carpet with dozens of logos that in the end no one can see anymore. And to me, this is still the guideline. We have to be opener, more open than we were in the past. We are doing this. This is important to get the value back and to develop. But we shouldn't be fully covered. And one more point, if you look at this, there are not too many areas that are really visible when our riders are competing. If you look at a jumping rider, is there anyone? No, just dressage. It's just this area that would help you. It doesn't help if there's something here. Maybe in jumping sometimes it helps. But that's what I just want to say is not each space on the garment is worth the same, and that's why we shouldn't be like a carpet. We should keep some traditional values, but there is a need to modernize, and that has happened. By now I don't know if it's already permitted to have a logo here on the trousers, but it's definitely under discussion, and I think this will come as well, and I wouldn't care too much about that, because we need to finance the whole sport. Wait, don't speak.
When you're talking about team sponsor, do you have a contract between a national federation and sponsor, or any, I don't know, National Olympic Committee or anybody else? And what could you propose for sponsor in this case?
We have, for Olympic Games, there is a contract between the National Olympic Committee and certain sponsors, but generally partnership in Olympic Games is very, very, very difficult and limited because of IOC rules. So the whole German team gets a dress from a company, all sports, for Olympic Games, and that's it. We, as a national federation, we always enter into a 4-year contract with Piqueur, Cavallo, and so on. That is from 2009 to 2012 until the Olympic Games. They provide the garment for all championships we have, for all age groups, starting from children to the senior level. The seniors get a bit more than the children and juniors, but everyone gets something. And then it's very important to make clear to that sponsor, look, during Europeans and World Equestrian Games, we are very free. The riders can appear like they do here with a Fendt logo. For Olympic Games, it's a different situation. We are restricted. We can't offer that much. We can offer more than around the competition. When they are not on the Olympic venue, in the lead up to the Olympics, then we can have a training session where they are Fendt branded and so on. This is something we need to make clear to the sponsor, and then they accept it. But coming back to the question, we have a contract with the sponsor, and we have sort of a contract with all the riders who are in the squads. Before they are nominated, they have to sign, I accept that the German team has a team sponsor and that I have to wear the team jacket and the horse has to use the saddle cloth. And they can't use their private sponsor they may have at a normal show. This is something very important, very hard to fight this through with the riders every time, but it's getting better. It's getting better, especially now, as they appreciate we have a real sponsor, and from what we get from Fendt, something is then distributed to the riders. If they go to a business evening with a Fendt partner to entertain their guests, they get something back. This is not to be said because of tax reasons, but we do it.
Do you have any figures regarding the value of sponsorship for German Federation? Because we heard the figures from Austrian Federation. Do you have them? This is one question, and a second, I have afterwards a second one.
We have clauses in the contracts not to release how much Fendt pays us. Our income, our total income from partnerships and sponsors at the moment is at maybe 1.2 million a year, and we are aiming to get this higher. We just hired an additional staff, but with a clear budget plan. If we did not increase our income by so much, we will lose this staff again.
Our neighbor to the west, usually we have to divide the numbers by 10 to get our Austrian numbers, and so we're doing quite well.
You do.
And second thing is, maybe it's not a question, it's just a remark, but regarding the size of sponsors' logos, I think you said that there is a little bit limited space where the logo can be put. Well, I don't think so, because the body of the rider is still pretty huge, with it's not covered. And I had a discussion during one of the events, international events, with some other stewards, because we are responsible also for checking logos, and the size of the logo depends of the name of the rider that wears it. Yeah, so the rules can be stretched as the name of the rider is as big. Yes.
Unfortunately, this is practice right now, and I know that you as stewards are at the end of the chain, and you are the ones suffering from those rules and from the fact that the rules are not always followed, because you have to go to the rider and say, look, you can't use this this blanket or this saddlecloth or this jacket. And of course I know that if you do this 10 minutes before he's supposed to enter the ring, he will say, you're crazy, I go. That's a situation that has to be sort of repaired, and we have to find ways to get the pressure away from you stewards. I look at you as well. Yes, what I wanted to say is, of course there is space, and there's a lot of black and blue still, but many of these areas, when they are competing in the ring, are not really visible for the camera. It's just a certain number. It's here, it's maybe here, it's at the horse's head, it's the saddlecloth, that's it. All the rest is moving far too quickly and hidden by parts of the horse or the body. That's what I wanted to say. One remark to the figures, these 1.2 million, that's not only money, that's also the products we are getting, which we have to consider as well.
One remark to the logos and the equality of equestrian riders. I think that very much depends on the level of the show you're dealing with, especially when you come to big shows where the organizer has a commercial interest. I think regardless the name of the riders, the sponsors will be checked. One of the best examples is Aachen. There you do not ride with a logo that is bigger than you are allowed. The other thing which the FEI made it more difficult for the stewards actually checking it from the 1st of January this year, we don't have sizes anymore, we have only square centimeters, so we have to be very good in mathematics. Sorry, one other remark. We haven't mentioned the Nation Cup dresses yet, which gave a lot of color to the Nation Cup, the national codes which each national federation can apply. For example, even if you don't like the color of orange, you will see it in the Nation Cup dress.
Yeah, I got a question. You as a federation has mostly support the people, like sportsmen or leisure riders. Does the federation has any program of supporting the equestrian centers as a place when people can ride the horses?
We have a structure that has 7,000 local riding clubs. Then there are the regional associations, and in the end, those regional associations, they are our members of the national federation. They have the say in the General Assembly and so on. They are responsible for the clubs, and they do the work for them. What we do is cooperate with the regional associations where it comes to programs, how to manage my riding club successfully. We establish such programs together with the regional associations, and then through them we have seminars for the riding clubs and so on, why we offer these services. Where it comes to commercial equestrian centers, we offer a membership for them. We have around 4,000. But we have to be careful what we offer to them because of our tax law. We are a non-for-profit organization, and in our country those are not allowed to offer commercial value or economic value to commercial entities. So they can be a member, they get a plate that they are our member, they get a members magazine with information, but for example, our in-house lawyer, he could not give advice to one of those commercial centers. If you called him with a question, I have a problem with my client, he would have to say, in general, this case is handled like that, but now I have to give you the contact of a lawyer who's allowed to consult you, because we are not. So that's a bit of a tax and legal problem we are having there.
Back into the space advertisement, I think a question is this is a type of a sport which is like, the imagine is that it's a high quality sport. It's like yachting, it's like golf and etc. So we are not able to, we should to find the right position of the advertising places on the jackets, because when we make it too much, we lose our sponsors and we lose those, the feeling which sponsors take about the questions. And then it will be like racing Formula 2 or racing Formula 4. So this is the place about some remarks about the advertising spots. And the question is, you said that you've got 1 million from the sponsors. What is the percentage of the costs which you are spending, and how much from that volume go for supporting the rest?
We have a fixed cost with staff and all these things, and just to identify new sponsors, which is maybe 1/3 of the income. But again, we have to take into consideration in this 1.2 million, there is clothing and tech worth several hundred thousands already, which we don't get as money. So if we spend 300,000, that's real money, which has to be deducted from the money we are getting. So what we finally keep is a little bit less, and that then goes into sports. It goes towards training measures for the top athletes. It goes to projects for youth, whatever.
Can you tell you average in percentage? How much is for the cost of getting those money? How much is in the products which they give you? And how much is the pool money, the real money which go to support the small clubs, small riders, etc.? Just generally.
After this question, we have to move on.
Yeah, that's right. I really have to guess.
It can be guessing. It's only to get the imagination.
Yeah. I would say we have cost that is at maybe 50 or 60%, and the rest we can use for sports development. But really, just a guess. And I can't split that up into more details because I simply don't know out of my head.
Okay, no problem. Thanks. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. If we have time towards the end, we can of course return back to all the topics now, but my colleagues reminded me quite rightly that we have to move on to the other topics which are very relevant